Fergus Nicholl spoke to Frederike Kaltheuner, a technology policy fellow at the Mozilla Foundation.
It's almost impossible to understate what a significant shift this has been. So for years, activists have been complaining that the policies that Twitter and other platforms use apply unequally. So they apply to normal users, but they often don't apply to politicians. And while Twitter has in the past applied these rules to politicians, for example, in the current corona crisis, they did take down a tweet from the president of Venezuela about coronavirus. This is the very first time they're adding a label to a tweet by President Trump. So this is a very big deal. And I think overall it's a very positive step. But it will come with lots of complications and controversies in the next months.
So would it be fair to say, Frederike, that Twitter and others have effectively been operating under double standards, and maybe because they were afraid of antagonising senior political figures?
Well, I think a challenge is always consistent enforcement. The first problem is these rules are always subject to interpretation. So what does inciting violence and hate actually mean? And the second problem is that a lot of content moderation lacks due process and transparency. So this is a general problem. The problem with starting to enforce the rules on politicians is that by choosing to not enforce the rules on politicians, you're at least treating all of them equally. The moment you start enforcing the rules, I think Twitter will get a lot of criticism the moment it fails to add a label to a president or a political figure. When it adds a sort of a label to President Trump, it now has to do this very consistently for every other head of state and political leader.
Frederike Kaltheuner, a technology policy fellow at the Mozilla Foundation.